try to make your children play with numbers. Play with numbers means sometimes you can, there are many nowadays Google or internet, there are many things available like bedtime, not stories, bedtime mathematics. So you can search it. Bedtime mathematics will be very, very good, yeah, helpful tools for making your children love mathematics, because mathematics, you love it, like it or not, mathematics is a subject which you have to, your students, that young children has to study till till a certain classes, maybe class 8, 9, 10. At least some sort of a level you have to study mathematics. So until we have build the habit of loving the subject, it will be very, very difficult. And that concept has to be not only for the children, but also the parents and the educators. Educators has to look into the ability, the individual ability of capability of getting the grasping the knowledge, grasping the mathematical tool, the mathematical knowledge. We have to individually, we have to approve. Individualization is a very, very important. So with this, I like to invite our speakers, and I like to I'm sure our speakers, both of them are very, very, they have been involved in Assam Academy of Mathematics also. So I think they will give a very, very useful tips how we can learn mathematics in a fun way, or how we can learn mathematics not as a very, very difficult subject, but as a very, very easy subject. I welcome all of you. I welcome welcome the speakers, especially, and also all the participants who are participating in our webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your kind and important points, ma'am, and my dear participants. Ma'am has already pointed out the different important points regarding learning mathematics and teaching mathematics. And for that, once again, thank you, ma'am. And today we have amongst us, as we have already introduced, we have already announced the name Dr. Saifur Rahman and Dr. Ashish Pal. So before giving them, let me share some views on the constraints of time. We have only 1 hour, and within this 1 hour we have to complete the webinar. So I request our invited speakers to kindly sum up his views regarding his topic within 10 minutes, within 20 minutes, and then I now like to invite Dr. Ashish Pal. But before inviting him, let us know about Dr. Ashish Pal. Dr. Ashish Pal, he is a young mathematician, dynamic leader, mathematical leader, has been associated as assistant professor, Department of Mathematics, Cotton University since 2015. Before that, he served as assistant professor in Boroland University and Assam Don Bosco University. He is an active member of Assam Academy of Mathematics. He has 28 research papers in international journals and conference proceedings. His research interest includes fluid flows with heat and mass transfer, computational fluid dynamics, partial differential equations, etc., etc. So I now like to take the dais. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Ashish to take the microphone. Here, please.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible to all of you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Dr. Kalita. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you. So I'll be speaking on the topic mathematics phobia, its causes and remedies. So to begin with, mathematics is one of the most important subjects with broad applicability in our every stage of life. A person belonging to any class of society, whether wealthy or poor, has to use the knowledge of mathematics in one form or the other. Mathematics is a core science subject and we'll see it's a core science subject and is used almost in every science-based discipline. In order to develop any science-based discipline, we need to use mathematics as a tool. It has extensive application in agriculture, accountancy, banking, business, engineering, carpentry, tailoring, and where not. But yet, mathematics is considered one of the difficult subject in school level as well among most of the students. In order to deal with mathematical problem, we need to follow some process and steps in a proper sequence. If a student cannot understand his or her understand mathematics, sometimes cannot express his or her understanding in linear thoughts, the student then become frustrated and mathematics anxiety will then stem from his or her reading disability. Let us see what are the main causes of mathematics phobia. First of all, what is mathematics phobia? Mathematics phobia, or in short, we also call as math phobia or as math anxiety, is a learned emotional response. Mathematical anxiety is not something a person is born with, but learned slowly with some negative past experiences. Mathematics phobia is a feeling of tension and nervousness that arises among some people when they are required to solve a mathematical problem. People who believe that they are not good at mathematics develop a fearful to avoid mathematics or mathematical situations. This has the title of mathematics phobia or math anxiety. Alternatively, we can say in this way that students who are suffering from mathematics phobia or math anxiety, they try to avoid some situations where they have to deal with mathematical problem or mathematical situations or mathematical activities. Math anxiety is a common phenomenon and which can have a negative impact on numerical and arithmetic performance in school level or in higher level as well. Math anxiety affects students in all ages from primary level to college students. Math anxious students complain of such things as nervousness, inability to concentrate, a blank of mind, and a feeling of sickness when they are confronted with taking a mathematical examination. Mathematics phobia largely impact on ability of students to learn mathematics efficiently, and they lose interest completely on the subject. This negative attitude about mathematics is becoming a growing problem and barrier for proper development of many individuals. Now let us try to understand what are the different causes of mathematics phobia. We have some common misconception in our society, like mathematics is not for all. The ability to do mathematics is inherited. Girls are not good at mathematics. There are many more misconceptions like this. Since directly or indirectly in our day-to-day life, all of we are bound to use the concept of mathematics. So how can we assume or how can we think that mathematics is not for all of us? Yes, the applicability area may be different based on their performance activities, but directly or indirectly, since we are depend on mathematics applications, we must, this mathematics should be for all of us. The ability to do mathematics is inherited. Is how can we think in this way? Like if we think that all the good mathematicians, their parents, can we say that the parents are also mathematicians? Sometimes I have faced many arguments from the parents while dealing with some parents. I have faced that they just say in this way that their kids are not good at mathematics because they are not good at mathematics. So this cannot be a generalized statement. Again, girls are not good at mathematics. This is a common misconception we have in our mind, in our society. But in the research shows that there is no significant difference in performance at mathematics of boys and girls. Now, a fear of a subject is most of the time due to the negative experience that one must have had with the subject while they were growing up. It can be a bad experience in school level or at college level, or a fear in the case maybe. Sometimes it is also true that teachers' inability to create interest on the subject and adapting not correct methodology to teach may also create mathematics phobia among students. Missing out of fundamental concept is the main cause of mathematics phobia, I must say. Now, sometimes it is also true that teachers' negative attitude, too much strictness in the classroom may also enhance the fear among students. The students having some doubt, they need to ask or clarify, ask for clarification from the teachers, but sometimes due to the proper environment, the students may not ask their doubts properly. So thus they accumulate their doubts, and hence the maths phobia increases in their mind. With all this, now how to overcome from mathematics phobia? This is most important point. As mentioned, as ma'am have already cited, that there are thousands of articles or so many books are available in website or here and there about mathematics phobia. But really, how to overcome from this mathematics phobia? That is an important task. First of all, we need to understand whether it is the mathematics itself which is disturbing, or it is the way in which the subject is being viewed. First of all, we must accept, as a student, we must accept that yes, we have some mathematics phobia. Without accepting this phobia, we cannot get out of this situation. To get out this phobia, students need to identify those specific topics where they find some difficulty. If I ask some student of class say 10, that student, he or she may not have difficulty in all the topics that is there in the syllabus. Or if you can suitably find out specific areas where they have some issues, they have some difficulty, they need to identify those topics particularly. And they need to work on those topics under some guidance of mentors. Now, teachers and parents also need to motivate students towards the subject and make them realize that it is not something from which they can escape, but a tool that they need to learn how to use. We cannot study any topic of mathematics randomly, without having proper background knowledge, proper concept about that particular background concept about that particular topic. So to understand mathematical concept of a particular topic, we need to follow a well-structured sequence. Suppose I need to study differential equation. In order to study differential equation, I must have the concept of calculus. I must have the concept of differentiation. I must have the concept of integration. Now again, to study integration and differentiation, I must have the concept of functions. Again, in order to study functions, I must have the concept of set theorem. So this is how sequentially we must try to learn the subject. So sometimes what happens is students who do not learn thoroughly, do not have proper concept in school level, they accumulate their doubt. With missing those concepts at lower level, they find very difficult to learn at the higher level. So my suggestion will be to those students, if they find a particular topic, doubt in or difficulty in a particular topic, they should search the background of that particular topic under which that particular topic is based on. One more thing, there is no alternative to practice to learn mathematics. It is necessary to give sufficient time to understand the subject. The more you will give, the more you will learn. The more you will learn, the more you will love the subject. And when you love the subject, the interest will grow. And when interest will grow, then obviously this phobia or sake of fearness that will go out from your mind. To build that confidence, we must give sufficient time, enough time for practicing. Now, how to practice? First of all, we need to start from the very basic. Most of the time, anxiety of a student is due to the lack of clarity in the fundamental principle and concepts. So it is preferable for the student to start from the very basic. To create interest, students should try to apply their knowledge of mathematics in daily life. To develop interest, one needs to start with easiest mathematical problem that may need minimum working skills. Starting with the fundamental concept, one can build confidence. I feel one of the important aspects of learning mathematics is capacity of visualization. One should try to visualize. One should try to create some image. Sometimes, say, geometrical diagram, when we think about, when we talk about, we should create an image in our mind. Before solving a particular problem, it is very important to understand the problem first. And most of the time, the solution or hint of a problem is given in the problem itself. But I have observed in most of the cases, the students do not try to visualize that particular aspect of a particular problem. So once we have understand the problem, we need to visualize what is the solution of the problem. Suppose a simple example I want to cite, consider a circle. Consider a circle and a straight line, suppose. And when you talk about a circle, our brain should create an image of a circle, and as well as an image of a straight line. And if the question is like to find the, say, intersection of a circle and a straight line, then if we create an image of a circle and a straight line, then we can think this way, that what are the different possibilities, whether a line can intersect a circle. It may be possible that that line may not intersect a circle. It may be possible that the line intersect or touch the circle at only one point. And it may also possible that the line intersect the circle in two different points. But those things should come in our mind. We can visualize those particular possible aspect or possible result of that particular problem. Once we can visualize those result, those possible outcome, we can now choose a suitable mathematical path to get the desired solution. Sometimes it may not be possible to visualize the result, but when it is possible, then we should try to visualize. It may create interest towards the subject. And while visualization, our result, our exact result may not be same with the actual result may not be same with the result that we have visualized earlier, that we have imagined earlier. But while we adopt some particular method, we will come to a desired stage. If we choose a wrong path also, then also we learn something if we choose a particular path. Doing mistake is not a big thing. Sometimes we create a sense of fairness. What if we do some mistake? Thing is that doing mistake is not a big deal, but it is really important to understand from the mistake. And if we do not do mathematics, if we do not perform mathematics, and if we do not perform mistake, we'll never learn mathematics. It is very important to go with the flow, to go apply a different path. If we make any mistake, we should learn, we should correct it, and thus we can improve our skills in mathematics. Now, technology can also play an important role, a vital role in understanding mathematics. say, as just I have mentioned, that how a circle in school level, basically in primary school level, the concept of circle, the concept of three-dimensional geometry. Okay, circle can be drawn in a plane, two-dimensional plane. But what about three-dimensional geometry? The three-dimensional geometry, it is very difficult to depict in the two-dimensional plane. So we can take the help of technology. We can use the software to teach the students, and we can also take some physical object, like taking a ball for to depict a sphere. Now, for higher level students, we have different softwares like mathematics, Mathematica, MATLAB, Scilab, and there are so many softwares from which we can actually understand, like the two equations are there. How the physical description of those equations can be seen in by using mathematical software, and it also create interest. It that's what we do. We involve in the situation, and when we involve in the situation, then we create automatically interest in that situation. Now, as a teacher or as a worker in mathematics, I must also feel that we also need to try to popularize mathematics among students, to bring them out from this fearness. If we conduct some competitions like quiz competition, exhibition on mathematics, essay writing competition on mathematician, or say mathematics Olympiad, different type of these different type of competition we can conduct among students to popularize the subject mathematics. We can, while choosing this competition, we may choose the theme of the competition to the very basic, related to very basic concepts that we are using day-to-day life. Mathematics exhibition can also help in this regard. As mentioned, Anuradha ma'am has already mentioned that from Assam Academy of Mathematics, we are regularly conducting this type of competition activities among students, and we have also seen that students, those who participate actively in this type of activities, they have really developed their skills in mathematics, and they have performed very good in mathematics. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. So these are the very basic things. Probably I'm running out of time. I will conclude with a quote by Paul Halmos, that the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. Only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. In order to involve within the subject, we need to do mathematics. We need to learn mathematics, and obviously we need to give sufficient time to understand the subjects. That is all about from my side. With this, I would like to conclude, and thank you all of you once again. I'd like to hand over the mic to the organizers.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish. You have pointed out different phenomenon of phobia and different tips how to overcome from the phobia. And there are some questions regarding this also, but I believe questions will come in the question answer round after our speakers lecture. So now I like to invite Dr. Saifur Rahman, and before that I have to cite some things about Dr. Saifur Rahman. Dr. Saifur Rahman is a young dynamic mathematician, has been associated as assistant professor, Department of Mathematics, Rajiv Gandhi Central University, Itanagar, India, since 2008. His research interests includes fuzzy sets and logics with application in algebraic structure and decision making, semi-rings and automata, graphs, optimality of paths and decision making, etc., etc. He has 22 research papers in reputed national and international journals. So now I would like to call upon Dr. Saifur to kindly deliver his lecture. Please, Dr. Saifur, please.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
Is it
you're
audible?
audible. Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Ashish,
afternoon.
Bapan, and actually, I saw the participant also in the participant list. My supervisor also there. Good afternoon, ma'am also. First of all, I'm just experiencing, sharing my experience of pure mathematics. What I learned in the undergraduate level too as a teacher. So nothing else. I'm just sharing my experience, nothing else. So this is my topics. First of all, I'm sharing the screen.
Okay.
So is it visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the title of the article, presentation, Art of Learning Mathematics, an approach to abstractions. So what are the outlines? Outlines of my webinar is that what is abstraction in mathematics and what is that we prove in mathematics, how serious we are about understanding abstract algebra, theorems are not proved in a vacuum, why this expert use is required, tools to learn in solving problems in mathematics, and few remarks. So what is abstraction in mathematics? Actually, first of all, before to understand what is the abstraction in mathematics, I like to just define mathematics in broad sense. So what is the study of science which includes quantity, that means number theory, structure, means algebra, space, means geometry, and change, that means analysis, is broadly known as mathematics. Abstract concept of this study is called pure mathematics, and if it is applied to other disciplines, we call them as applied mathematics. And abstraction in mathematics is the process of extracting the underlying structure, patterns, or properties of a mathematical concept, removing any dependence on real world object with which it might originally have been connected, and generalizing it so that it has wider application and matching among other abstract descriptions of equivalent phenomena. This you will get in the Wikipedia. So this is not mine. Now, what is, I just want to give an example. What is the abstraction of mathematics? In the early 19th century, people know the solution of linear equations, quadratic equation, cubic equation, even biquadratic equations. But what happened the solution of higher degree polynomial equation, like quantic equations, the polynomial equation of degree 6? The first person who has given the answer, Everest Galois, he has born on 1811 and died on 1832, given the answer and introduced the group theory. As we know that group theory is the first is the abstraction of the mathematical concept. Now, abstract algebra is applied in different, nowadays, this abstract algebra is applied in different disciplines of science and engineering, like physics, chemistry, computer science. So how serious we are about understanding abstract algebra? Now, it has been observed that majority of the students in under and postgraduate levels are afraid of abstract algebra, real analysis, topology, and so-called the pure part of mathematics. Unfortunately, many students struggle with these topics. Solving problems, proof of theorems of abstract algebra is a challenge for them. Students memorize the proofs or solutions of problems instead of understanding them. This is the problem, actually. Often, students wait for the days before the exam or when homework is due, and consequently, they forcefully memorize the proof or solution for the problems. Even after the completion of their degrees, many of them show property of concept. Often, these people spread news that these objects are difficult to understand compared to the other subject among the juniors, and consequently, juniors also do the same mistakes. The objective of this webinar is to discuss how easily one can understand pure mathematics. Some techniques shall be discussed in problems. I hope it will work as a remedies in these pandemic situations. Now, what is that we prove in mathematics? First of all, we prove statements which are easily called the theorems, propositions, lemmas, corollaries, and exercises. What is theorem? Theorems are kind to be important results, so important results. Now, proposition. Propositions are also usually slightly less important than theorems, some results. Lemmas. What is lemmas? Lemmas is again a statement which are used in the proofs of theorems. Corollaries. Corollaries are statements that follow easily from the other result. And exercises statements that are left to the reader to prove. Okay. Now theorems are not proof in a vacuum. That means theorems easily is not something like that we can prove it easily, in vacuum. To prove theorem, we usually need to use various definitions and theorems that we have already been proved. Now, what is this definition actually? I like to first introduce what is the axioms. Now, if we do not want to keep going back infinitely, we need to start with objects that we use without definitions, as well as some facts about this object that are assumed without proof. Such facts are called axioms, and body of knowledge that can be derived from a set of axioms is called axiomatic systems. In modern abstract mathematics, we take theory as our basis for all arguments. In each branch of mathematics, then we give specific axiom for the object being studied. For example, in abstract algebra, we study constructs such as groups, rings, fields, each of which is defined by a list of axioms. Now, why this expert base is required? Now, for a student, in most cases, a teacher or parents become a model guide. However, always they may not be in the position to encourage that your topics are interesting. Moreover, for loving your subject and for learning the techniques of solving the problems, a proper guide may not be always with you. In that case, expert view may help the reader or the students. Tools to run in solving problems in mathematics. So I just list some tools. This is not exactly what it may be the remedies. These are I suggest it. Memorizing definitions and theorems, learning to do proofs, what we can use, learning in words, whenever possible, convert words to symbol, use suggestive notations. So what is memorizing definition and theorems? First and foremost, one must study the materials regularly. Whenever I read a book, I start from the preface. I try to know all the definitions, properties, theorems, etc. This helps me to understand the subjects. So this is the key tools. We should read from the preface. We should know the definition, properties, and theorems therein. Then it will help us to understand the topics. Secondly, one of the greatest problems I see with the student is that they do not have the definitions and the theorem memorized. Sometimes when I will ask to the, they will come, some student will come to my syllabus, even in the classroom, they can do a certain problem such as to group some subset of a group is a subgroup. Now, if I ask them, what does the one-step subgroup test? Then they will answer like that. Either they won't know or they will reply incorrectly. Their answer will be wrong, like that. So learning to do proofs. There is a direct relation between our understanding of the subject and the ability to do proofs. To gain an expertise in doing certain proofs, you may start with the easier proofs. always suggest you should first try for a easier proofs that are available in the given books. Note the statement in your copy, but not the proofs. It is better if you can prove them without any help. Students often do the mistake that they try to prove a statement without using the complete hypothesis. Hypothesis in a statement is a must needed assumption. It is given because it is required. Keep in mind that you must use the hypothesis. If you cannot prove the statement, look at the preliminary line in the text. That might be enough to get you started. If it is not, then look at the next line. Repeat this over and over until you can do them without looking at the text. Sooner or later, you will get the suspense of it. Proofs check your ability, understanding the subject. It also tests your creativity. So this is, I feel that important to learning to do proofs. That's why. Now, what we can use? We must know that we can use only the which we have given. Whatever is given in that problem, that we can use only, or the definitions or the previous theorems or properties. Now, for example, consider the problem that if we have an abelian that is commutative group with two elements of order 2, then it has a subgroup of order 4. First, what is given? The group is abelian, and two elements of the group are of order 2. So we can assume that two elements, say A and B, each of order 2. Now all we have are A and B and the group axioms. That means what are the group axioms? First, it should have the closure property, associative property, existence of identity, and existence of inverse. So with the help of AB, we must construct a subgroup of order 4. Now, learning in words. So whenever something is given in symbol, we must have to convert it into or translate into words. So we should make a good habit to translate the object given in symbols into words. For example, we should think of like that order of A, the smallest positive power of A that gives the identity. ZG means the center of a group is the set of all elements that commute with every element of G, while CA is the set of all elements that commute with A. So this type of symbols we should able to convert into in our words. That will help us to memorize the definition also. Now, whenever possible, convert word to symbols. For example, consider the following cases, but not limited. If given that a group is finite, we write it like that. We can write it like that. Mod of G is equal to, or order of G is equal to n. Just we are finite means it should be a positive integer whose order is n. Now, if given that a group is abelian, we know that it should be commutative. That means AB is equal to BA for all AB belongs to in Z. So we'll able to convert into symbols. Now, if it is asked to prove that a group is abelian, we want to show, we have to start it like that. We want to show that AB is equal to BA for all A and B. Now, we just suggested notation means suppose if two groups are given G and H, and we are to select two elements from respective groups. So let us denote G by the element of small g by the elements of capital G and H by element of capital H. So this kind of notation will always help us. I just remind that in most cases, the statement of the problem suggests how to solve the problem, but converting what we know from word to symbols and what you want to prove from word to symbols often help us to proceed for the problem. Now, few remarks that I want to mention here. When it is asked to prove a statement, we must not assume that the statement is true. the statement may be wrong also sometimes. So it is a bad habit to assume that the underlying set of structure is finite. Sometimes we do mistake there. Whenever a set is given or a group is given, we try to solve, we try to give some finite examples to group and try to solve it. But rather we see that the group may be of infinite order. So it may be possible that a set is infinite. So that is the important. Check whether you have used all the hypotheses in your book. Actually, in every statement of theorems or propositions, we have some hypotheses. So that hypotheses are must necessary things. So seldom it may be the case that a given condition is not really needed, but was there just to make the problem easier. But usually all the given conditions are needed for you to able to give a valid proof with what you know at this point in these books. It is sometimes observed that a parameter n for an integer is given to prove something. I always advise my students try for some particular value of n to the specific statement, such as like that for n is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc., whether it is satisfied or not. And then go for the general n. On problem that asks for some answer rather than to prove something. Do not just give an answer. Whenever sometimes we give some problems and we ask for the answer. So we should give the answer with the explanation why this is correct. The answer is correct. Whenever we assume, we must have a reason why we assume that what it is we are assuming. For example, if we are given that a subgroup of Z, we may assume the statement, assume X is an element of H. Because if H is a subgroup of Z, that means H always must be a non-empty subset of the group. So we can assume that's why X is an element of H. We cannot say, assume Z is abelian, because a group may not be abelian. Without providing some reasons why you may assume that Z is abelian. As another example, if we are given that a group is finite and A is an element of order of the group, you may assume that order of A is equal to n, because order of a finite group, order of an element of a finite group divides the order of the group. If the group is finite, order of the element must be finite. So that's why we can assume that order of A is equal to n. So such kind of sense we must have. Why we are assuming something, why that reason should be there, because all elements of a finite group has finite order. However, if we do not know that a group is finite, we cannot assume that an arbitrary element from the group has finite order. Instead, we should take two cases. A is finite and case 2, A is infinite. So one should assume the finite and infinite case separately. Whenever we prove something statement like that, we should always assume prove separately for the cases for finite and infinite case. Always prove the problem involving integers by considering cases of positive and negative integers separately. Remember the negation. Sometimes we do mistakes with the for all statement with the there exists. For all is the negation of there exists. For all means for the all, and there exists means at least one exists. Thank you.
Thank you.
This, so this kind of, actually this is not a complete list. I just listed something which may be helpful for the students or some teachers also in learning, self-learning. And in this pandemic situation, it will help also. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saifur. You have...
If you, and one thing, if you need the slides, I can provide it. No, there's no problem.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Saifur. You have expoundedly cited different examples and try to motivate the students towards pure mathematics. And as we all know the basic requirements of pure mathematics is nothing but imaginative power of mathematics. And I think students, they start learning pure mathematics while they start learning set theory, because set theory is the mother of this pure mathematics. Yeah. Then so we have some questions, and then I think we can go for the question answer round. Yeah. So let me see the questions. One of the important questions it is asked, I think math phobia start from their parent as well as teachers also. Then how they overcome the phobia if their society think like that? What about your views? I think Dr. Ashish can answer it probably.
Okay, that's the next question. It's true that phobia starts from the home. As I have mentioned in my speech also, that I have met different parents that they used to say that my kids are not good at mathematics because we are not so good at mathematics. So thing is that we have to change that mindset. And I have also cited example that if we take examples of great mathematician, then their parents probably most of the cases were not mathematicians. This is a mindset that we have to change. And in case of teachers, that how to change that, yes, we need to change our methodology in most of the time. In classroom, if we are so much strict in the classroom, then sometimes what happens, students get fear to ask their doubt. So we should give the students a proper environment so that they can come up with their issues, with their problem. That is what I must say.
Yeah, thank you. There is one more question, but hopefully the participant, the question setter has already got from Dr. Saifur's lecture. He wanted to ask, how can we learn pure mathematics?
This is the slides are actually explained. Pure mathematics, I listed some remedies also. That we first know the definitions. Learning pure mathematics means it's mathematics. For mathematicians, there is no difference from pure mathematics and applied mathematics. So when we talk about pure mathematics, we first know the definitions and the axioms. Suppose if it is a topology, then we first know the definition of the topology. What are the axioms is satisfied? Just like that, if it is a topology, we must need a non-empty set. And then when we define, once we have the definition, we try to learn the some properties of the topology, and gradually we'll try to prove. We'll try to give some examples. And like that in group theory also, first we'll define the group theory and the properties and the definition. So this is the basic key concept. We first know the definitions, properties, theorems from sequential order. And whenever you read a book, we read a book, we first go for the preface. Actually, the authors try to give the basic organization of the book in the preface. If you see the preface, we'll get an idea how we have to start the books, where the definition will be, where we will get the problem solutions. So they will describe in the preface also. So I think if you are alone at home, you are reading some books, you start from the definitions, from the preface to the definitions, and then the theorems. And whenever we take some simple proof of a theorem, we should always start from the simpler problems. I just mentioned it there, simpler problems, and you see the proof, and go for the tougher and tougher. So that will help us to understand the topics. I think it will helpful.
Yeah, thank you. There is one more question on
I can answer that Samsar Hussein's question. I think he has asked a very relevant question, that what can we do with a mathematics degree? I think he is a student of mathematics. Okay. And why we see lesser number of students engaged in this comparison to others? First of all, first point, there are three questions to answer. What can we do with mathematics degree? Mathematicians are behind. If you see I think give you an example of COVID-19. The policymakers, I think, who are taking the decision of lockdown and any other things, what do you see? You see the data on the number of infectives, number of persons, the number of persons getting infected and recovered. All those decisions are given by the mathematicians, data scientists who are working behind them. If doctors and nurses are the forefronters of the COVID-19, I think mathematicians and data scientists and data handlers are also the you can call them as a in the frontline activists who have been giving a lot of insight so that the policymakers, the government can take decision. So I think mathematics, if you study mathematics, there you can do a lot of things and lot of scopes are available for mathematics, and there is no doubt about it. And second question, if you have the second point you have asked, I think, what is the second question? Second, I mean,
How can you change the mindset?
why less number of students are, or why less number of students are in the field? That is the main reason. That is why that's like the phobia, as we have already mentioned. The topic is on the mathematics phobia. Due to the fear, the students who come for mathematics, they come for actually love of mathematics. If we can transform most number of students, most number of higher secondary students or the school level, it starts with the basic primary level. If we can make the students love mathematics more, I think there are more number of students coming to the field of mathematics. That is my point of view. I think mathematics students, and a lot of students are studying mathematics, and also, I mean, there is enough ample opportunities. Why people are not looking at a vast areas? Mathematics can be diverted into different fields of science. Like you can go for computer science, depart computer scientist, become a computer scientist or data scientist. There are a lot of opportunities are available. So it is like a promotion. We need to promote the subject. We need to make aware that there is no phobia. I mean, there is if your concept is clear, then concept is actually from the beginning itself. If we can make the mindset clear from phobia or fearness from mathematics subject by our parents as well as by the educators like us, if we can have come up. I mean, as I have mentioned, that don't go by the marks what you have got. If we can see that okay, we have some sort of ability of doing some mathematics, that is enough for even in the later stage, even if you do not study mathematics, that will help in the grow in your life. That is my feeling. And if any other questions I can answer, that I'll be happy. I'll be very happy.
Thank you, ma'am. We have one more question. Do you think that due to lack of mathematically skilled teacher in primary level, students get demotivated towards mathematics?
I do agree. I mean, if I may answer that, if it is, I have an experience. We have an experience of teaching in the going to primary school or something like going to primary school, because we have been associated. Our university is associated with teaching in some primary level school. Our teachers are going, our students are going there to teach. So what we find, what their need is that they need mathematics teacher and science teacher. The teachers are not being able to cope with the subject. Maybe they are not trained. We must train the teachers to train the student. That is the most important thing. And that is happening not only at primary level, it is happening in the higher level also, like higher secondary level, school level. We do not have enough uh, enough teacher who can make them understand, make the conception clear. That is my point of view. I think the government or we must, all educators should do work on that part also, because I think it's a very huge difficult problem. Maybe nowadays it is coming up. Nowadays things are getting better, but earlier I think it was very because if you have at primary level where concepts are not clear, then because it's a mathematical subject, so every class is linked. One is one by one. It's linked. Class one subject will be mathematics will be linked to class two, class three, and so on. Up to whether you go to engineering, whether you go to any other subject, it is always in a link. There is a network like you cannot study class 8 without giving concept clear in the class 7 concept. So this is the thing we have to very clear about. So every class you have to clear your doubts, clear your concept in the previous classes concept. So that is very important, I think.
There is a question: how to overcome maths anxiety from students' mind, and for secondary and senior secondary level, they buy 2-3 reference books, and after that they get confused what type of different problems are practiced. After that phobia is started. Is it necessary to practice from many books in school level?
Anyone else wants to answer?
Yeah.
I mean, Assis, our Saifu can answer. Assis can answer that actually.
Yes.
The question, what is the question actually?
Question is
If the student
how
buy
to
lot of books.
How to overcome math anxiety from student mind.
yeah.
And for secondary and senior secondary levels, they buy 2-3 reference books, and after that they confuse what types of different problems are practiced after the phobia is started. It is necessary to practice from many books in school levels. What I think that first of all we need a single book. You go for a single book. You read the first books from the basic to the toughest one. If anywhere, if you find difficult, any
Okay, carry on.
you choose one book first, you go through the books first one, and from starting to last. If anywhere you find it difficult, you go for the second books or third books for the remedies actually. If we open 3 books at a time, there's
Then
no
we'll be in a dilemma. We'll be in a dilemma.
There's confusion would be there.
Yeah.
And also good book. Good book is from good mathematicians, not like small class note or something like notes available in the market. You read good books from a good writer, good
Good
author.
writer, yes, madam, yes.
Good
Very,
writer,
very important.
less printing mistakes.
Yes, true.
Less printing mistake, because sometimes because of printing mistakes also students may be confused. Okay,
So,
we have,
ma'am, one thing I just want to discuss is that when I was in BSc level, I got my first algebra books by A.R. Boysisto, by Krishna series. There, when after that I got Kazu Jamijit and Sujit Singh's books. Actually, I can see the differences, but still, any book if you don't have other options, you go through that first books and you go for the second book. So good writer is important like that. So so whenever we don't have any other materials, we go for whatever we have, I think.
For school level students, I think if the NCERT textbooks are so well designed, and students having some anxiety in mathematics, they should not follow 2 to 3 books at a time. They should start the simplest and the good book one, and then when they solve problems and try to understand their book, then they will build some confidence. Once they build confidence with those books, say a textbook, then only they should choose some other book. They have some they have some anxiety, some phobia, and it is better not to choose more than one book at a time.
yeah, I have one experience regarding that. One of the parent of a student, he came to me and asked about the students and asked me whether the student has to learn a reference book rather than studying the textbook. Then what should be our take on regarding that? We should go for the textbook.
Yes, definitely first textbook. Reference books are for what students who wants to study beyond the textbook level. If then basics should be clear with their textbook, and then they can go for the reference book. A reference book should be taken as a reference, not as a main book. Textbook has to be studied properly.
Because we have seen the books are means edited by numerous excellent mathematicians of national and international repute. So I think
for
it's
school
better.
level, I think NCERT books are very, very good. NCERT books are very, very good, so they can go for this. And even our SEPA government of Assam textbook provided by government of Assam nowadays, so all the school children, they are studying mathematics as a story. I mean, this has never happened in our life. They are studying as a story. The story is given, and during the stories, I think that the concept of mathematics education recent time has been a lot of improvement has been going on. and I have seen a lot of stories are incorporated in the mathematics education. So I think a lot of things has been done in the mathematics education. I think we are having a very, very bright future for our mathematician or as a scientist. Without mathematics, science will not be also good. So I think there is a very good prospect of future is very, very bright, I think, in that way.
Yeah, there is another open question. I have observed that there is a big gap between the school and higher secondary level mathematics. For this reason, many students leave the maths at the higher secondary level. What is your observation in these regards?
I think now the new education policy is coming up. I think that in that way, I think already another person has asked about the basic mathematics, and there is higher in two types of mathematics are given in the class nowadays. Those students who are not very bright in mathematics level, they have divided into two levels, but basic mathematics are needed for that. So I think now it will be a little bit of it will be easier for the students. And I also agree that there is a very huge difference between the higher secondary level mathematics as well as school level class 10 level mathematics, because what we study in class 10 is entirely different story in higher secondary mathematics. Higher secondary mathematics is a little bit tougher. So what we need to think, I think now I don't know. I mean the policy, the course development who has been doing that, they might have thought about it also. Mathematics, those who wants to study purely mathematics, maybe mathematics burden can be a little bit lowered, and I don't know what can be done. But the thing is that you have to, those who wants to study mathematics has to concept is their concept is clear in class 10 level. I think it will be not a problem for class 11, and class 11 mathematics is a little bit tougher than class 12. So I think if they have concepts on, as well as we have already discussed that phobia has to go, and practice, lot of practice has to be done. I mean class 11, 12 mathematics you need to practice a lot. Maybe one problem, as I have said, 10 times you are asked to do it. In that way, one time a simple problem is done, next time a little bit difficult problem will be done. So I think when you do the practice, I think students will be okay. And also the educator, the teacher has a very great role to play here, because a student, all the students are not having the same capability of grasping the knowledge or grasping the concept. So the teacher has to be very, very much encouraging. I mean, we have a very bad habit of teaching mathematics, because mathematics students are when they are liking the students who likes to do more mathematics, they are prone to teaching those. So that should not be happening. So we have to have an individualistic approach. We have to have a the teaching methodology has to be different from different students to different students. So because our classrooms are packed with all level of students, it is difficult for the educator also. But we have to give lot of time educating our students, and we have to make our classroom interesting. Otherwise, there is no point. Maths will never be popularized if we don't make our classroom more interesting.
Yeah. There is one more interesting question. Besides the basic science, most of the students like from commerce, then sociology, psychology, these students are very, very weak in mathematics. So how to solve such type of problem, means how to overcome this, means how to motivate the students to come from weak to this weaker, then weaker, from weaker to weak, then from weak to a strong position in mathematics.
Ashish can give the answer. Okay, Ashish,
yeah. So I want to say that. Okay, can you please repeat the question once again?
Yeah. Question is, most of the commerce students, sociology students, psychology students, they are weak in mathematics. So it is a challenge for the mathematics teacher. How to solve such type of problem, means how to overcome this challenge.
Okay, Ashish, you tell, then I will just give a comment on that.
Okay,
Ashish, you tell.
Okay, so I think that the mathematics subject itself is a very wide, and we have applications in different directions. So when we do not study the mathematics as a particular general subject or in a core subject, and we divert to some other like commerce or some other areas, then probably we need to study some specific topic. And also the subject mathematics needs lots of time to devote. And sometimes when you compare some other with other subject, then it become very difficult. So for subjects or discipline other than just science or mathematics, or say commerce or some other discipline or science, social sciences, it is necessary to give some devote some specific time to learn those subjects. And also those students do not opt, or they commerce background student or social science background students, they have some psychological fear that they are not good in mathematics, or mathematics is a very tough subject. That psychological fear, or say maths phobia, also affect in that sense. So thing is that they need to study, they need to give some additional time, or what are the main difficulties they face. They must find out those difficulties, and then they can try to understand those difficulties with proper guidance from a mentor.
Any suggestion? Yeah.
Yes, I like to just
Yeah.
add 1 or 2 points. First of all, the student of commerce or any other like zoology also there, any subject are nowadays having mathematics as a subject or statistics as a subject. So first of all, we have to have relate mathematics with their subject. If we cannot relate the subject we are teaching to them, why they are studying that subject, and what is the importance in their subject, or in their, it will help them in their higher studies or any other studies. So that has to be the relation, the connection has to be there. If there is no connection, suppose I am teaching operation research in commerce department, master of commerce and students. So I have to have related to why you need to study these things. What are the different aspects of it? Why your commerce it will be helpful for you in your future life. If I cannot connect those things, that will be always a difficult subject for them. If you connect that connection is made, I think it will be easier for the educator to educate them, and it will be easier for the students to grasp the knowledge. So that connection has to be made difficult. Phobia will go away if we can connect that in between the student and educator. Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. We are, I think, running short of time. So, but we can take 2 more questions, because we have seen it has become gradually interesting. 2 more.
One student has a question on the pure mathematics. How can you start studying pure mathematics? Because pure mathematics is to be said to be very, very difficult subject. I think Cypher can give a comment on that. I think pure mathematics, if you start with the set theory properly, to have a good knowledge of set theory, I think everything will be come into place. If you have a good basic set theory, I think Bikram Setri had given that answer question, I think.
Bikram
and if you have a very, if you have a very good base in your set theory, if you have no conception in set theory is very, very good. And if you do not have that conception in set theory better you start studying set theory again from the beginning. I think that will be my answer.
Yeah, you are right, ma'am. Set theory is important, and the properties of set theory is also important. Suppose we want to study group theory, okay? So we should know what is the origin of the group theory.
Yes.
So where from this group theory is extracted. First of all, we know what are the examples where from it is started group theory. Like that, if we see some examples like group theory, suppose summation of integer modulo 7, okay, something like that. Solution of polynomial equations. So from there, it is extracted the group theory. If you understand it, then it will create some interest on us. And then you go for the abstractions. Once we have the physical examples, we can go for the abstractions. That is the problem with us. First, suppose in topology, when we talk about the compactness, and then we say that Cauchy's theorem, Cauchy's sequence. What is actually Cauchy's sequence? Cauchy's sequence means a sequence which has the tendency to convergency. But we jump to the definition directly like that. Oh, what is Cauchy's sequence? Method is satisfied. We go for the symbols. Rather, you go to the textual concept first. Okay. Suppose in Cauchy's sequence, what does it mean? That if it has a tendency to convergence. Now, when you say that a metric space is complete, we call if a Cauchy's sequence is convergent. That means if a cosequence which has a tendency is exactly convergent. If we think it like that physical concept, suppose a set is compact, means in topology we think a set is compact. Compact means what does it mean? We cannot put something like inside against the box. We have to think it like that. Compactness is like that. What is connectedness means we have to think it like that. There is something that we cannot pull it out away. Because even if you pull it like that, it won't just tear it out. So like that, we have to some concept that which is we can physically visualize the pure things also. Because it is the abstract things, so we always think about the basic concept. Now against the when we see the dense subject, now what is the dance actually? When we see a forest from the above the earth, we can see the only forest. That means we can say that this forest is dense. But if we go inside the forest, we'll of course see some land also. If we come close to the forest, we can see that this forest is dense now. So like that, we have to think it like that. Physical appearance view also is important to understand pure mathematics. What actually, this is my personal view, my experience of teaching mathematics actually. So like that you can go.
Visualization is very, very important.
Visualization is important.
Every word has a visual impact. If you think about ring, if you think about group, it's the visualize. You have to visualize this, and if you can visualize, you will be out of the fear. That is the
Yes.
more important thing.
Yeah, and the basic properties are also mentioned in our school level mathematics, like addition of two real number is again a real number. Addition of two natural numbers is again a natural number. These things are actually given in basic level mathematics. So if we do not know this mathematical language right from our beginning, then I think there will be a problem. And that has already been elaborately discussed by Dr. Saifur in his PowerPoint presentation. Then one more, I think it's not a question, it's just like a suggestion. Can we introduce Vedic mathematics in our school level to overcome this phobia and to motivate the students? This is a question from one of our Dr. Zoira, I think everybody knows.
No, actually, I don't know that much of Vedic mathematics. In a refresher course, one mathematician, Vedic mathematician, I will say Vedic mathematician directly, and I won't pronounce it. So this is nothing. Vedic mathematics is nothing but a tool. Today, what we think mathematics, most of the case we think it rationally. So in Vedic mathematics, what I feel that there's a tool to remember something, some equations or some problem, how to solve a problem, and not a systematic study. I feel that. So of course it is mathematics. Vedic, since it is Vedic mathematics, means it's from the Ved. I don't want to discriminate. Yeah, but it is.
It's a way of easily calculating your things, easily doing the things. It's a way of getting the answer directly in a smaller amount of time. But it can be, it will be interesting, but it will be part of, it can be part of your mathematics section.
That will be part of, I think arithmetic only.
Yeah.
Right.
Not always it is helpful, I think.
Yeah.
It is always helpful, right?
It's not always helpful. Because today's mathematics is completely different from there.
Yeah. So, is there any suggestion towards the students to get motivated to mathematics, Dr. Ashish?
To the students, just I want to say that first of all, we need to love the subject, and to love the subject, we need to involve within the subject. When we involve, we do practice, then automatically when you try to visualize different aspect of a particular problem, that interest will grow up. When the interest will grow up, then automatically we will love the subject, and obviously subject will love us. That is what I want to say. Thank you.
So I think we can now wrap up. Ma'am, can we wrap up now?
Yes, you can wrap up. I just want to have concluding remark.
Okay.
One thing is that there are enough enough, nowadays in the internet era, you have enough opportunity, enough knowledge available, enough things available, enough videos available, enough materials available in your fingertip. If you can go every, one video you can go for 10 times, 11 times, 20 times, so that you can understand whatever you study in the classroom. You can also get different materials. So in that way, you can develop your interest in mathematics, and also you can help others to get interest in mathematics. And the concept of difficult subjects should go away from our mindset. It's not a difficult subject. It's a subject as other subject. So that concept has to be, and we have to create, as an educator, we have to have a very great role to play. So I think we all should be in a positive direction. We have to have a positive direction in that matter. And I think that's all I want to do. And I wish all the students of mathematics, lover of mathematics, get future ahead, or get great time ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'd like to share my sincere thanks to our chief patron, our Honorable VC Sir, Academic Chairperson Professor Alok Kumar Buragohai Sir, Professor Emeritus Hemant Kumar Borua Sir, Dean Professor Anuradha Devi, ma'am, faculty members of different of Department of Mathematics, participants, our technical team for giving their valuable time and input. Thank you, and great day ahead.
Thank you again, all of you.